are we on this developed economy scale?
How much are you willing to pay, and at what point do you go, okay, I'm going to stop taking?
We actually did some calculation. We did over the next 5 years. Basically, if you ask the platform workers here whether they want CPF, they probably say no. But is that the right thing?
Ride-hailing and food delivery fees are going to go up, and it's for the better? This is your daily catch-up.
Boom.
So as we approach the new year and with elections coming, I think there are a lot of hot button issues at the top of everyone's minds. And the top of that is cost of living. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be deep diving into various areas of cost, such as like household, healthcare, food, which we already done in the hawkers episode that you guys would have seen.
Pressure
and
government a bit.
We're going to cover transportation and food delivery. So to shed some light on why the cost of ride-hailing and food delivery is going to go up next year, we have an expert guest with us today. He's a published author and an expert on platform services industry. He's appeared on podcasts weighing in on global business trends, consumption habit, and entrepreneurship.
Damn.
Please welcome the co-founder of EasyTaxi in Asia, former managing director of a food delivery company in Singapore, and the co-founder of venture consultancy Momentum Works, Jiang Gan Lei. Welcome to the show!
Sick resume.
All right, sir. So you are a seasoned industry veteran. I mean, based on what I've just spewed out, that's a very, very interesting resume. I don't think I did it justice. So given that entrepreneurship is one of your domains, can you give us an elevator pitch of your career thus far?
Wow. Okay. Hi, my name is Jiang Gan. I don't have any namesake in the whole world. I've discovered. I entered mobile internet in 2013 by starting this company called EasyTaxi. I think you guys are too young to remember that.
I remember it.
You remember it
because like
you
there was
probably used one of our vouchers.
Yes, there were two apps at that moment of time. One green, one yellow, and then you just kind of like price compare between the two.
Yes. I mean, so we did that for a year and a half, and of course couldn't compete against Grab. And they were much better funded, and also they have a lot of talent.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we did food delivery for a while, which was also quite interesting because it's just more exciting compared to taxi, right? I mean, it's just you have the riders, you have the restaurants, you have the consumers, and you have different varieties of food.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I left Singapore, went around to different parts of the world, and a bit of Latin America, a bit of Middle East, a bit of Hong Kong. When I came back to Singapore, I realized everything became expensive. When I was coming back from Hong Kong, I was saying that, okay, now I can expect something to be cheaper, but it's almost as expensive as Hong Kong.
Right. What brought you to those different parts of the world? Was it the work, or like you just were interested in
work? Because, for instance, the reason why I went to the Middle East for a while is because there was an e-commerce platform which was saying that, hey, you know how to do e-commerce and you know how to do supply chain. I said, I did ride-hailing. I did food delivery. These are very different from e-commerce supply chain. They said, you speak Chinese. That helps me. because we just sent a team to Guangzhou and for a whole month, and they couldn't figure out how to talk to factory owners. And you know how to do it. So a bit of experience like this and that, and came back to Singapore. So
we talked a little bit about EasyTaxi. Like, how did that come about?
EasyTaxi was actually there has been a bit of a complicated history. It was part of Rocket Internet. It was Rocket Internet, you guys probably know, right? It started companies like Lazada, Zalora, etc. So they bought a team in São Paulo in Brazil doing ride hailing. And they said, okay, this is a good idea. And we should do this across the globe.
This was 2012, 2013? 2013.
Yeah, I was just graduating from business school. I was saying, okay, what should I do next? And then my neighbor, who was from Brazil, was saying, hey, there's this company coming to Asia. You should try it. I said, try what? Try the app? And he said, no, try to lead this company. I said, sure. So we had like 2 calls with them. And the next day they said, okay, what's your bank account? And we're going to wire you the money and start a business.
Wow. Where were you studying?
INSEAD.
Oh, okay.
Sorry?
That would do it INSEAD.
Never heard of it.
It's a huge European business school.
Yeah, they have a campus in Singapore.
My bad.
So and of course we paid like 50,000 euros for the tuition, and because of all this like history, number one ranking, whatever, now it's like 100,000 euros for tuition. Yeah.
What a deal. Okay, so then they wire you the money, and then you basically start EasyTaxi in Asia.
In Singapore first, then we gradually expanded across 6 countries in Southeast Asia.
I'm trying to cast my mind back then because this was at the point where taxis were still the main thing. People were still getting into the Ubers and the Grabs. Like, did you think that we will get to where we are today, where ride-hailing is the number one way that people like basically go around?
If I think that the one thing that Grab did faster than us was how to figure out, how to increase the supply, because you remember back then, the main challenge in the city is that many people can't find taxi, especially Friday afternoon, raining. You're trying to get off work, you're trying to go to an airport, and there's no way you can get a cab. So there was a structural issue with the supply, and I think lots of things have changed. The regulators have sort of caught up with this, and they have regulations for private hire, and so many people have joined. So things become ubiquitous now.
Okay, and now there is a bit of focus that you have in your work when it comes to Singapore platform industries in particular. Like, why that?
I think a couple of things. First, we don't only look at Singapore, we look at globally, but of course we live in Singapore, and almost the entire team, aside from one person, are based here. So of course, whatever is happening in Singapore impacts us a lot. And we have been looking at this platform sectors because first we had some personal experience running some of this, and we know lots of people, and we have been publishing a lot of studies about this. And I think that sort of self-perpetuates, right?
And what motivated you? So like you mentioned, you went around the world at that point of time. You went to Latin America. What motivated you to come back to Singapore? And
of course, we look at the macro economy. We look at what's happening across the world. Singapore is becoming more and more interesting place. Especially when your lens looks at what's happening across the world. The geopolitics between China and US, a neutral place is pretty hard to find.
Where are we at in terms? Not right in platform, in tech platform companies, whether it's food delivery, whether it's taxing services, Gojek in Indonesia, pre-pandemic, where you could order a haircut. Which country do you think have the most insane super app in terms of platform?
Across the world is definitely China. So
what can we do in China that we can't do in Singapore?
Order a raw fish to cook at midnight and get that delivered in 20 minutes.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And you can buy an iPhone in 20 minutes. So
is Singapore considered a bit slow?
I used to think that way.
Okay.
But over the years, we looked at a lot of the infrastructure in different countries. There are things which are just different, right? So for instance, China has a scale that Singapore doesn't have, right? Shanghai is like 25 million people. So for you to organize the supply chain, for you to organize the density, it's very different. And another thing is that, the labor structure in different places. So the top platform in China is now expanding to Saudi Arabia. And the reason why is that, one of the reasons is that, of course, Saudis are rich. And the second reason is that they have an unlimited supply of labor, which are all foreigners. And I think this is something that Singapore can't have, right? So the structure is different, the infrastructure is different. So that means that, you can't really say that, which country is slow, which country is fast. I think the players in each country are trying their best to deliver the services to the population and try to make a profit in the same time.
So recently, I think our parliament rolled out new policies for platform companies, right, which impacts platform riders. I think it's an effort to kind of protect platform workers a little bit better, give them CPF cushioning so they can also buy a house after working for 10 years, right? Sorry, what is the policy?
So there are actually three specific areas when it comes to the protection. So it's specifically for platform workers who are not employees of the platform, will soon have employee level protection. These are three main things: CPF, work injury insurance, and representation. So they have to contribute to CPF and MediSave with co-contribution from platform operators.
Correct. Platform operators must contribute also.
Yeah, so the same 20%, 17% as a salary employee. And there are specific grounds also. So if you're like 30 and above, you can choose to opt in. But if you are below 30, it's mandatory. Yeah. The other thing also is the work injury compensation insurance, which I think is quite useful because right now, if say for example you're sick or you're injured and you can't go to work that day, you technically have a loss of income. And then the last thing when I mentioned about representation, it's representation by the platform work association. So you don't feel like you're just one person. There is like this association behind you to back you for any like disputes or issues. But I think there's quite a lot of movement towards creating some protection for them, and also with CPF. Like, what is your understanding of the bill, and do you see this as a good thing or difficult thing to kind of navigate?
I think the intention of this bill is definitely to protect the people, right? Who are working for the platform, or who are working as delivery workers, as sort of private hire drivers. And this is a topic which has been sort of discussed across the world over the last few years. And you see different countries taking different approaches. I think, so for instance, in certain states in the US, completely free, right? I mean, so you are doing it at your free will. You get a payment. We don't interfere what you do.
The Republican way.
Like freelance worker.
It's they call it independent contractor. So
right.
basically you run your own business and you work for the platform for the jobs that you take. And there are also extremes like Spain. Spain basically want to classify everybody as an employee.
Of the platform.
Of the platform.
Wow.
So that of course triggered a lot of things, right? I mean, one of the players straight like exited. They said, okay, based on our calculation, there's no way this platform can sustain if everybody's an employee.
It's like just overnight, suddenly you have like 10,000, 15,000 employees that you now have to give like benefit for and all this, when in actual fact, what you're trying to do is provide gig work, flexible working arrangements for like a lot of people. So I can see that.
I think I've spoken with platform workers across the world, and we asked them, I mean, why do you work on a platform? I mean, everybody said, look, flexibility, right? So, so instead of being tied to a job, and so now I can decide, okay, when do I work? And I can sort of reasonably calculate how much I can get by how much amount of hours I put in. I think this is universal, right? So basically, if you ask the platform workers here whether they want CPF, they probably say no. But is that the right thing?
It does sound well and good, right? But at the end of the day, it does feel like more cost on the platform side and less take-home pay for platform workers. What do you think are the long-term effects of this?
So the key thing is, I mean, if you do the analysis, right? So which are the parties in the platform economy? You have the consumers, you have the riders or delivery. Your delivery riders or drivers, right? You have the merchants for delivery business, and you have the platform. So when there's additional cost, one of the parties or multiple of the parties will have to shoulder this cost, and it can't be the riders, right? Because otherwise it defeats the purpose. So that's left with the platform, that's left with the merchants as well as the consumers. And I think over the years we've done lots of study about the platforms, and for platforms to be competitive, they need to make sure that they are high velocity and low margin. And I think just last week, a few colleagues of ours actually looked into the published financials of all the platforms, and many of them actually running very, very thin margins, like low single-digit %. For them to, I mean, of course, they have huge volumes of orders, and that helps sustain them. But so if you slap a additional cost on that, and if the platform is shouldering this cost, and of course, it might become unsustainable.
Which is quite a bit, because it's the 17% contribution.
Yeah, 17% of whatever the platform is paying for the rider or paying for the, I mean, it can easily work out to be like 4 or 5 or 6% of the total sort of bill.
Yeah.
So that's additional cost, and then back to our question, who is paying for it, right? I mean, so for the platform to pay for it, and I think it's very likely that this whole business model becomes unsustainable. I think in the newspapers and in forums in Singapore, I think every merchant is complaining of the high cost, right? Yes. So high cost, I mean, and recently you probably saw a report saying that 2,000 plus F&B merchants closed their business in Singapore. Yeah. So merchants are sort of feeling the pinch as well, right? Yeah. And with all the additional costs. So that's left with consumers, right? But are consumers willing to pay? So this is something which is untested. Yeah. My market force will find a way to find an equilibrium, but the fact that the whole sort of platform economy is built on sort of volume and density, so there might be a bit of a consequence that we can't yet predict. Yeah, so of course when we interview the riders and drivers, many of them cite sort of security cite the flexibility as a good point, right? So they get the full take home pay, and if they think that, okay, I'll now get like sort of 20% less cash at home, so the attractiveness of this work compared to any kind of other work will probably reduce as well. I mean, simple economics, right?
So I understand it's hard to predict what's going to happen, but can you talk us through what are the possible outcomes and scenarios, right? With this new bill coming in, I think it's pretty clear that consumers will probably expect to pay, correct, more for their food delivery, for parcel delivery, for ride-hailing, taxiing. What else are there?
That's about it, right?
Right. So we're expecting to pay more. You would think maybe about 15% more because of 17% employer contribution.
No, 17% paid to riders, and that's not the whole cost. I mean, the other cost is the food, right? The food and the parcel and stuff. So I would expect probably mid to high single digit percentage.
Okay. So 6 to 10.
probably around that, and of course the details is always nuanced, right? Because
Of course.
if because of this the demand reduces, the average cost per delivery goes up.
So wait, let me slow you down.
Yeah.
So you're expecting that with this 6 to 10% increase in platform service fees, that people will start ordering and booking less. Correct?
I think that's a high possibility, but of course, I mean, to which extent we don't know. Yeah.
Which goes back to the elasticity.
Yeah.
of demand.
Yeah.
And then how do you think this 20% CPF contribution is gonna draw people out from the platform economy
Supply side.
on the supply side?
I think on the supply side, I mean, draw people out, right?
Yeah.
And I think many people actually still value this like full sort of take home pay.
Yeah.
And if that part is 20% less, unless you compensate that with, I don't know, more density of orders, which contradicts to what we talked about the consumers, right?
Yeah.
So then this becomes less attractive compared to other employment options that people have, right? I mean, now in Singapore, literally, I mean, you talked about all these different industries, F&B, hospitality.
Yeah.
Every place is short of people.
Like what I'm curious, and I think maybe it's an extension of John's question, is that are we kind of stuck between two worlds? Because like Singaporeans are, in terms of GDP per capita, are earning quite a lot. And we are close to a developed nation, right? But then
It's very close to US in terms of GDP per capita.
and
Very
then
close to US, yeah.
Yet
Singapore?
Singaporeans,
No, we have exceeded US way long time ago.
It's about 80 something, and US also is like
You
70,
said 60,
something.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very close.
yeah. But despite that, Singaporeans are so used to, and we're harping on making sure that food prices are low. And I think that's by extension, transport things are low. And like, is it about time that we increase our expectations so that everyone can start enjoying, like, I guess, the fruits of prosperity in that sense? Because if not, there are going to be people like hawkers, which we covered, and platform workers that are always going to be left out because we expect those things to be priced low.
I do think that is a possible pathway forward, but of course, as people always say, that this is what I mean the society collectively agree on. So it's hard for me to predict something for the entire population.
No,
right?
but it's so convenient. It's so convenient that we all agree that we want these things to be priced low. Like, at what point did Australians realize that actually McDonald's meals should be $15? Whereas like in Singapore, we go, no, it must be under 10.
There is actually a formula, They price the Big Mac according to certain things, then they price everything around the Big Mac. I think to a certain extent, it's also pressure from the wider Singapore to kind of pressure that the government wants Singapore to be more inclusive. I think to a certain extent, the government is also very concerned that there are many graduates that go out there and then they don't find a job with career advancement. As a 18-year-old, you do food delivery, you can start making $4,000-5,000 at 18, 19. That's super impressive. That's SQ money where they do like, that's SQ money where you go and exchange 3-4 months of training, then you get to see the world and they pay you like 5K, 6K, right?
Yeah.
And this one with incentives is also possible. And I can imagine the brain drain that is concerned about, and then to a certain extent, they want to try and make sure that the gig economy are for people with extra time and for people that don't have skill sets that fit the current economy. But however, if you are highly educated, like every young person in Singapore is,
True.
for us, I often wonder, right? You look at the countries that the systems of the country work, and we like to visit, like Japan and London. And when you think about, you're gonna take a cab there. Cab there is so expensive. Make sure you try and take the metro, take the tube, take the this, take the that. Because taxis are super expensive. And in Singapore, when I come back and we are on par in development, if not more, our trains are nicer also. Can I share something?
Sure.
I was at Iceland, right? And then I just rented the e-scooter for like 3 minutes. 3 minutes, because it was like a half a kilometer. Okay.
$30.
No lah.
I ruined it.
I download an app, then I tap lah, then it's just 500 meters, 600 meters. I paid like $8, which
that's too much.
In Singapore would have been a cab ride.
That's too much.
Yeah, like someone come to me in their car to go. Not I do this, I cross the road, I stop at traffic light. I pay $8.50, $8.70.
That's me after I went to London.
Yeah.
Because like I just tapped my card at the tube.
Yeah.
And then after that, when like my credit bill come in, right, every ride, right, is £5, which is like 10 SGD for like from my Airbnb to the central London. And then like food prices, right? Like I went to a Chinese restaurant, okay, go mine, everybody please eat. It's like a place where it's very, like a lot of Singaporeans like
And
to
they
go
watch
for
the Daily
duck.
Ketchup, by the way. Shout out to Go Mine.
I love
yeah.
go mine, thank you auntie. And so I ordered like, just a tofu in a hot pot.
Yeah.
Like in Singapore, maybe you get it at a restaurant for like maybe $15. But there for the same size, I get it at like 17 pounds.
Yeah.
That's $35 SGD. And then for for white rice, right, it's 6 pounds. 6 pounds is 12 SGD for a bowl of white rice.
Yeah.
But they don't have the economies of scale that we do. Like everybody eats rice here.
I'm trying to say, right, when I'm there and then I come back to Singapore, then suddenly when I see like the cap price a bit extra, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Just because I experienced like such a difference, right?
Which
I
makes
come here
me
and be
wonder,
like,
right? Like, where are we on this developed economy scale? Why haven't we gotten there? I do believe, right, all the Chinese immigrants that go out to these countries, right, they open a restaurant and they set their menu at like $5, $6. Then after they see how much their neighbors selling random fish and chips for 38, then they're like, I can afford to go 29. Yeah.
I also think so.
Are you saying that people should sort of expect things to be more expensive in Singapore? Or?
I'm wondering what's artificially suppressing rates in Singapore. And I know I say this from privilege as well, right? But also in that sense, in many other countries where there are also developed transportation system, where in Singapore we have arguably one of the most developed public transportation network, we can still get taxi prices at this amount.
I mean, I think one of those factors is the lack of a minimum wage. Because if you look at Australia and why everything is so expensive there, having lived there for 3 years, they have a minimum wage. So everything that involves labor
Even
is
for
not...
Uber?
Even I think so. So I mean, I left before like Uber was around there, but there was this like famous like story that everyone told me is that if you're thinking of buying a car and if you dent your bumper, just replace it because it will cost more for someone to fix it. Anything that involves labor is so expensive there. Whereas we have the progressive wage model here, which is a bit more sustainable when it comes to prices. I think that's one of many different factors. Right. But I think that alone makes everything a little bit more expensive.
And again, what you just mentioned is self-perpetuating, right? So for instance, I mean, if everyone expects this to be expensive and of course the people on the supply side will get less orders, will get less sort of demand and to keep the cost. So keep the business afloat, they will need to charge higher prices. Yeah. So it becomes self-fulfilling.
Yeah. Everyone gets paid more, but you can't buy more things.
It's a tricky question. It's a social question, and when I think about all this like costs of CPF of the riders, of the drivers, I think eventually the consumers will have to bear this cost. The question is that how ready and willing the consumers are to bear this cost, and how that would actually impact their behavior vis-a-vis all the macro changes that's happening in this market that's impacting people's mood.
Right. And do you think, having looked at, you mentioned earlier, looking at the financial records of all the platform companies in Singapore, do you think there are companies that are dangerously close to being not able to afford this in terms of their demand versus their new cost outlay?
I think globally, the companies will find it challenging to afford it purely on their own. I think globally, yeah.
In Singapore?
I think first it's progressive, right? So and the full impact we don't know yet, and full impact on sort of supply and full impact on supply of riders we don't know yet. But if we just purely based on the current numbers, I do think that of course the first year 3.5%, I think most platforms are able to afford.
Okay.
But based on the current sort of projection in 5 years, 17%, I think that's something that I think all the platforms in Singapore will probably not be able to afford.
Right.
So I think like you're right, a lot of it is uncertain and we can only see what it looks like maybe in the facts of like 1 to 2 years time after it has been implemented. But maybe anecdotally, I'm not someone that takes Grab a lot because I started driving, but someone like that does take Grab still. You take Grab?
Because I can't afford a car.
No, so let's actually dive into it, right?
Okay.
If your Grab ride, how much does your Grab ride cost from here to home?
On a good day, when demand is low,
yes,
$16.
Oh,
that's not bad.
On a
busy day,
high demand timing, 28.
Okay, so say that 16
raining 34.
Oh, okay. Say that 16, that 28, and 34, right, is now 25 instead of 16.
Yes.
We're
Okay,
still
let's
willing.
say
Willing.
up $1.50 on all.
No, I feel like, okay, in my opinion, I don't think the price increase will be so drastic. Like if it's 150, I'll be like, alright, okay.
Like how much are you willing to pay, and at what point do you go, okay, I'm going to stop taking?
I feel like it's a visual thing. Because now the prices, right? If it's between 20 to 30, I'm still okay, right?
Yeah.
If it's 60, it's like bonus to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if it hits above 30, that's when I'm like, and that's the normal.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, this is a bit weird.
Yeah. I also think I think Singaporeans will simply price in everything because when you add $1 or $2 to your $20-$30 range, we won't even know that it's the added dollar, not the surge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then when it's surging because it's after a concert and the same distance of the ride will be $40, you're like, but I want to go home.
Yeah, and you see the red color arrow
So
and you
you
go,
pay.
I understand. Like the reason why I
enough,
feel
came.
exactly the reason why I feel like Singaporeans actually will still pay for it is that we have survived so many price hikes in the past. Whether or not there was a good reason for it or not, we've just kept paying for it.
Yeah, and it feels quite gradual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, let's say something is $1, then it's $1.20, you'll be like, but you still pay the 20
Yeah.
cents.
And it
now.
becomes the new normal.
Now I got the Grab Unlimited, so I pay $5 every month, right? And then I get like 50 vouchers of $3 off my delivery. So every time my delivery is like almost free, then every month they tell me I save $300.
It feels good, it feels damn good.
But then if I
You probably actually save $300.
yeah, but if I so I tested this a few times. If I use the pickup voucher, so if I pick up my food, I don't take the delivery, right? I get a 20% off voucher.
Yes.
And
addition?
if I compare it with I go there and actually buy, right? It's like 40 cents cheaper. Sometimes,
no way.
Sometimes.
After the 20%.
Because some stores, right, some merchants, their price is the same as in the app.
Right.
Yeah.
But some just a bit different. So when I use the 20%, then it's like,
You've basically taken away the platform commission, and how the platform is earning is through your transaction instead. So they're happy to do the same.
Where I think the hit will happen is in food delivery. I think food delivery will most definitely take a hit.
I do think that food delivery will probably be impacted more because you have clear alternatives. You are clear alternatives.
You can walk downstairs
You
or you can cook.
Yeah.
oh, no. But, right, okay. Here's where I think they can work on it. Some merchants...
Wait, who?
No, some merchants... Okay. Got one noodle store downstairs, okay? There's a noodle store downstairs that on Grab, right, they have 1 for 1.
Oh.
And then one bowl of noodles now become $4. Instead, I go downstairs to buy $9.
Okay.
But you need someone to
Because
cut
they
with.
want to like attract people to have more
Yeah.
orders because they're not having enough walk-ins, right? So they use like platforms.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so sometimes I think it's about finding the right deal at the right time because I'm sure the ride-hailing platforms, right? They will still give this kind of
Yeah.
vouchers, different.
For discovery purpose lah. But if
Yeah.
like McDonald's then you already like,
Yeah, then whatever, I'll work there lah. But like this kind of stores, I feel like,
I do feel like food delivery will be impacted because currently as it is, it's almost same price as the thing I bought.
It's like $5, $6.
Yeah, I usually get it at $5-6.
Yeah.
And then usually because I order late. If you order in advance, then great, right? Yeah, so you order at $5-6, then the thing you're trying to eat is $7-8, then you add another couple of dollars to it, and it's like I'm buying food for that guy as well.
We were looking at this platform workers bill, right? So we got so many people asking about us because whatever that Singapore is doing, other regulators in different countries are watching.
We'll follow, yeah.
Yeah, and players in other markets are also watching, saying that, hey, would other countries enforce something similar? So some people asked us, I mean, how much do you think that the whole cost would be? We actually did some calculation. Might not be exactly precise, but we calculated over the next 5 years with the progressive rollout of CPF, that alone would be additional almost $500 million cost. So
For all platforms.
for platforms in Singapore, for food delivery, ride-hailing, and parcel delivery. This amount of additional cost, and they then trickle down to the question that we asked, right? I mean, who's going to shoulder this cost?
Yeah.
Most likely will be consumers, and whether consumers will be happy about that, and as we heard just now, she's okay.
I'm okay because I never see it on my app.
All right, guys, thanks so much for watching this episode, and thank you, Changan, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing
Follow
your
this
insights.
series, guys.
Yeah, we'll be sharing and we'll be diving into more of these topics. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything to say? Happy New Year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're coming on December.
Do you buy Labubu? For example?
Oh my god, do you like Labubu?
I am trying to figure out why people like it, but
so
apparently
I
like
can't-
half of my office love it.
Oh, the face of Labubu look like, like Teletubbies. Like a bit
Yeah.
haunted.
Yeah,
because the smile and
It's
then
kind of
the
scary,
teeth.
you know?
Yeah, I'm a bit scared. Like I feel like if I put one in my room, right, it will wake up in the middle of the night and like start attacking me.
So, but this is one thing I realized. Like, I think with Gen Zs, right, in particular, they like things that are a little bit weird, like a bit often. You know, like a bit dark.
I'm just thinking that when we were kids, I mean, the things we liked are probably a bit dark and weird for our parents.
So, like emo, or
I can't remember exactly, but there might be this, right? So I actually spoke with Labubu is by like Pop Mart, right?
Yeah.
I spoke with one of the earliest investors of Pop Mart.
Oh,
I mean, he made like 40 times his investment.
Wow.
What he said, honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea why this became so popular. So it's a confluence of
the fact that he invested in Pop Mart, it was a gamble to begin with, right? I would imagine the business pitch to be really strange.